I just arrived at Gamescom and it's pretty fucking busy. But what I'm going to try and do is, rather than get any exclusives for games, because people are already doing that, I'm just going to try and show everyone what Gamescom's like. Only problem, of course, is I have no idea where we are right now, so Matt's checking the map, and otherwise, there's not a whole lot of games, because we're in the wrong bit.
We're here.
Where are we? Hall 10. So there you go. We need to be somewhere more gamey. Well, we certainly found somewhere more gamey, the hall with 2K games in it and Blizzard. We soon joined the queue for Borderlands 2, and it turns out that it's Borderlands, but with 2 on the end. There are lots of bits like this, people on stage talking about stuff and throwing out freebies. Some of the mobs can become quite massive. This is clearly the most complicated game here. It's the only one we've got to play, so it's clearly the best. It is dragging coloured thing onto a thing, possibly a spaceship, and then you get an earthfall, whatever that means. Fascinating. This loud mushy mess is a trailer for Square Enix's new graphics engine, and it was loud. Gamescom on the whole is pretty loud actually, and it's pretty crowded, but it does have a really nice atmosphere. Like this place. This is the Sony booth, which is huge, and there are just thousands of people just wandering around. Speaking of which, I played Hell Yeah, Wrath of the Dead Rabbit. It's easily my game of the show because it's funny as hell, and it plays like a dream. Now, as to why there isn't much actual game footage, well, companies don't like you filming their games without press passes, and I didn't get one. So instead, here's a currywurst I ate. It was delicious. I also played Dishonored, which was good, but it didn't blow me away. I don't think it's the sort of game that a short demo can really convey. It's solid, but not demo material, if you will. What I did like was that it reminded me of a cross between the Thief games and the Hitman games. So it's definitely worth keeping out for reviews, because it could go either way at the moment. One thing I didn't expect to see was this stunt fest. It was to promote Razer game peripherals, and they were chucking out freebies, hence the crowd. I got a lanyard and some form of light-up pendant that doesn't really work, which doesn't really give me much confidence in their product quality. The best thing about this whole display was that they were talking in English, so I actually knew what they were on about for once. All around the show, Namco Bandai were advertising the shit out of Ni no Kuni and Tales of Grace's F, so of course each one was relegated to a single screen hidden in a corner. Ni no Kuni was actually pretty good, so I'm keeping my pre-order for that. At around 6 PM we left with 2 hours to go until the show closed for the day. As you can see, it's still packed. We retired to the city centre to be intimidated by the Dom, Cologne's massive cathedral, and to drink German beer and banana beer, which is actually amazing. We drank it at this really nice market square, and then as we went back to the hotel we encountered a busker with a grand piano. Naturally. One of the nicest surprises of the trip was how ridiculously easy it was to get to the Cologne's centre where Gamescom was being held, so I decided to record our trip. And now we wait for the train. A perfect circle. I like some of his stuff on that as well. Yeah. The leaflet holder?
Passport.
Yeah. And we're at Gamescom. Nice and simple. That was the morning we also saw this mental case mod and ate breakfast at the well-known quintessentially Germanist Dunkin' Donuts. And had this amazing dinner, with wine and beer and steaks and stuff for about €20 each, which I think you'll find is a steal. Although I must say the most impressive thing about German food is that at McDonald's the burgers actually look like the pictures. There was a retro gaming section at Gamescom which featured a Pac-Man D&D of all things, which looked awesome. More on the retro stuff later though, because we were just passing through. There were also lots of cosplayers around, but I only got this picture, mainly because that guy in blue hair, who I think is from Final Fantasy 13, was trying to take pictures of Lightning's arse. One Gamescom tradition is queuing, and this is the queue for Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance. I actually did join the queue, but after about an hour I realised they only seemed to be letting one person up at a time, and I realised I had things I wanted to achieve with my life before I died. Like finding out what chicken flavoured crisps actually taste of, because it sure isn't chicken. What I did love, however, was this beer mat flipping game. So, in 2 more, I actually win the beer mats flippings. I'm just playing against myself, but if I run out of beer mats, I've completed it. Achievement unlocked. Final boss. It's like Demon Souls all over again.
Well, so if you lose this, you kill yourself by half.
If I lose this, I can never do it again, basically. And I have to start from 1, and I'll be really sad. And I'll never play it again. But I completed Demon Souls.
Never interested me.
It's good. I recommend it. Oh. Shit. Fuck that. Another great thing about Gamescom is it involves a lot of walking, which is why there are so few fat people there, obviously. In fact, I think I lost weight with all the walking and I'm not actually that heavy. While you watch this footage of walking, here's a quick game rundown. Castlevania Lords of Shadows 3DS was awful, and affronts to everything Castlevania. The stick itself is unresponsive in that it's got a huge dead zone. The movement is clunky, and it's far more pit fighter than Castlevania. We've got the world's worst Link. I feel bad for him. Sleeping Dogs was oddly fun. I would definitely recommend it, but then I think that's been everybody's response to it so far. Although I did break the demo and the shooting section had no graphics. Oops. Gravity Rush was decent, but the demo itself was a poor introduction to the game. It's a weird concept best explained to a quick and to the point tutorial, not the opening segments of the game which are mired in reams of story. At the retro section there were a bunch of games from StabYourself.net, which were really fun takes on retro games, such as a physics-based take on Tetris and Mario with portal mechanics. Best of all, they're all free. The Tomb Raider reboot had a massive queue and then a session where we watched a guy play it and then had to go ourselves. The problem with the game is that Lara is a whiny cow. She just cries about everything to the point of annoyance. Not only that, but every few seconds the game insists on throwing out a contrived set piece that feels forced and completely inorganic. I wanted to play the game, not move from one calamity to another. It could turn out to be a great game, but the opening is so annoying. For instance, after telling you how to use the bow, there's a scene where a bad guy takes a girl hostage and Lara misses a shot and then runs into a bear trap. Why not let the player do that rather than have it played out in the cutscene? It's somewhat insulting, not to mention she's fine after stepping into said bear trap, rather than suffering from a completely mangled ankle, which is what would actually happen. I normally wouldn't mind too much, but in a game that's trying to push its harsh survival gameplay, pushing you into a situation that the player could easily have avoided seems a bit contradictory. However, when it comes to guided playthroughs, I didn't mind that I had to watch The Last of Us. It's the opposite to Tomb Raider, in that every set piece is reactive to the player and organic, and a small error from the guy doing the demo led to an exhilarating game of cat and mouse against a single opponent. It was the same demo I saw played at E3, but it turned out completely different. That's how a survival game should be. And here's Matt attempting somewhat unsuccessfully to play a game on an Apple computer. Is that an Apple? Oh, it's not an Apple, but it's still unsuccessful. What's actually going on? Oh. Looks like you're playing an orangutan in a mask. I partook in Toki on the Commodore 64, and it was shit. But at least I can safely say I did better than everyone else here. This game looks awesome. Seriously. This sort of thing was the future in the 80s, a future that thankfully never transpired. We've got to play a game in the Goldfish Bowl anyway. I also played a game called Dark that was on the Calypso stand, and it was horrifically bad. Now, admittedly, it was pre-alpha, but Christ, if your game is that unpolished, don't show it to people. I experienced such howlers as my character vanishing, the game freezing during the intro, weird clipping issues, an animation issue that made it look like I was shoving my head up an enemy's ass while I was drinking his blood, and a situation where I got stuck between two invisible walls while being shot. Not good. Not good at all. I'm sure I played other stuff, but nothing really leapt out. Well, except Tiny and Big, which has been out for a while, but if you haven't got it yet, go on Steam and get it. It's great. Now, I went to Gamescom in 2010, and I will say that this year's show wasn't as good for two reasons. Firstly, there was no Nintendo or Microsoft, which was a bit weird considering how Ninty does have the Wii U coming out relatively soon, and this would be a perfect way to show it off. Instead, it fell to Namco and Ubisoft to pimp it. Now, I didn't bother to queue for the 3 hours for Zombie U because, well, that's just madness. But I did play Namco Bandai's Tank Tank Tank, and that game was awful. Now, even on another console it would have been awful, but it did mean that I got to handle the Wii U's controller, and I am not impressed. The first problem is that it's just too big. It's not too heavy, it's just wide. If you fold an A4 sheet of paper in half, you've basically got the size of the Wii U's controller. The sticks are near the top and they feel far too apart. Now, adding to the weirdness, the buttons are below the sticks. Now, to get an idea of how that feels, turn a PS2 or PS3 controller upside down and play with the sticks, then try to reach the buttons. It just feels wrong, and I can't imagine any games making it feel right. I hope I'm wrong, because I love most of Nintendo's first-party stuff, but I'm not holding my breath. The other problem is the second screen. Yes, it's high quality and impressive, but looking from the TV to the controller is jarring. It's too far a distance to actually just glance, and it takes you out of the game, which is why Nintendo should have been there. When the only game most of the attendees might play due to its small queue size is terrible, and makes the controller look bad, you've got a few 100,000 people being turned off from your big launch. The other thing that made this year's Gamescom inferior to 2010's is there were very few cool pieces of swag being handed out, which is a bit of a shame. But hey ho, I still had a great time. The atmosphere was amazing, it was well run, and Cologne itself is a vibrant city with great food, drink and transport links. If you live in Europe, or even if you don't and are thinking of going to Gamescom, I'd say do it in a heartbeat. I'm definitely going again next year, and so should you. I suddenly feel very sort of because I'm indirectly filming like a girl in a maid's costume, and I didn't mean to.
Okay, just if anyone else to say I was holding the camera.